Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about that experience. Your Fort Stanwix haunted history experience. So, what is Fort Stanwix?
Well, Fort Stanwix was part of the Revolutionary War back in 1777, and
well, while you're looking, the East Coast really amazes me. With us out here on the West Coast,
there's not nearly as much.
Right. There's just not nearly as much structures and remembered places to go to, of course.
Yeah.
We all know.
Unless you want to talk to like some spectral prospectors or conquistadors or whatever, there's just not a whole lot in the way of history.
Right. And we all know that Columbus discovered people who were already here, but
Sure.
Not a lot in the way of structures out here to sort of connect us to specific parts of the land or anything like that. So it's always interesting on the East Coast where you have a building with potentially 400 years of history.
Well, yeah, like I said, Fort Stanwix was in August of 1777 against the British and the American Indian troops. There was the whole war was going on. Oriskany Battlefield was actually involved with it too because they came across the trail from Oriskany Battlefield. There was a little bit of fight. There was some fighting over at Fort Stanwix, and eventually the war ended. And all the soldiers that were stationed at Fort Stanwix, they just stayed there and stayed there and stayed there. And they were waiting for notification that the war was over, and nobody gave them notification. Eventually, somebody came with a letter and said that the war was over, so they all left the fort, and it just sat abandoned for a while. But there was many deaths, from like the cold and the sickness.
And going back to the prospector thing, if it sat there empty for years and years, who knows what else went on there. Wow.
So when it comes to like that blind woman you saw who followed you, obviously she wasn't a soldier. What do you think might have been her deal? Or is there any way to know?
Well, it wasn't just the soldiers that stayed there. The families of the soldiers actually stayed there as well, like the women and the children. During the cold months, though, where it was like really cold, like around December, January, February, they the wives and the children would go off to another fort, because this fort was just too cold for them to survive, there.
And at the risk of being crude, Kara, there was always a soldier entourage of people to assist the soldiers in off hours in a female capacity.
Yes.
So there's always that.